This is a lesson for those who really want to understand what it is to be a biblical homeschooler. And I go into great detail on the things that characterize a biblical homeschooler. Let me share with you what some of those things are. Number one, she believes that children are precious. If you study from the 1828 dictionary the definition for the word child, you will see that a child is someone who is young, someone who is weak, and not skilled in the things that adults are skilled in. And that's why it's such a precious time for a mother to nurture and cultivate a child's mind and heart for biblical purposes. It's a great reminder of what our role is to nurture our children, and that's why God gave them to us. And we have the great privilege of being able to do that, because there is an immense reward for parents who disciple and train their children in the Lord. And the second thing we talked about is that children actually need instruction. They need explicit instruction. How many times do you have to tell your child to do something? Well, in homeschooling, there are so many little things and ways that you can train your children to think and do. I mean, think about the way they sit in a chair. I mean, we're not asking young children to sit in a chair for hours or doing monotonous things to where they are exasperated, but we're training them what it looks like to govern themselves, to sit in a chair properly for 2 minutes, 5 minutes. If a child can govern themselves and govern their body in this way, they're able to do much more in other areas. Also, think about where your child puts their things. When they're done with school, do they put their pencil away in the right location? Do they put their papers in their folder without getting crinkled? Do they put their books where they're supposed to go? All of these things are explicit ways that we can teach and instruct our children in how to govern themselves. And it prepares their minds to learn so much more. Think about it when we're asking our children comprehension questions. Do they actually have an answer? What are they actually doing? What should their mind and their hands and their body be doing when trying to figure out the answer to a comprehension question that they don't know the answer to? These are all specific things that you can teach your child when homeschooling. And they're a big part of the education process of teaching subjects. What about doing spelling? Now, if you're using spelling curriculum that just copies and repeats, that's not teaching spelling. Spelling is about analyzing words and understanding them in a way that will help you actually remember why they're spelled the way they are. Think about the specific instructions involved in that. And those are just to name a few of the things that I teach parents how to do. The next thing we talked about is that children thrive in relationships. Relationship is so important. If you don't have a good relationship with your child, start by blaming yourself. I know that might sound harsh, but it is the truth. The truth is that children are young, they're not developed, and you are their role model. You are the one who teaches them how to relate to other people, what things to say, how to hold themselves, how to be confident, and things like that. If you're there's a verse in the Bible that says a child left to himself will bring shame to his mother, and none of us want that. But it starts with relationship. If your child is talking back to you, then maybe it's you that is being sassy or talking back to them in a disrespectful way. I know I can relate to that 100%. And as soon as I changed my ways, guess what? My children followed. So model the kind of character that you want them to have so that you can have the relationship that you want to have with them. And decide and write down what kind of relationship you want to have with them. We talked about the guiding principles of biblical homeschooling. The first one is truth first. Truth matters. God matters. He's the most important thing in our lives. He's the one that we want to emulate. He's the one that we want to follow. And if we don't know what His truth is, we can't teach it to our children. We can't even discern whether what we're teaching is truthful or not. So truth matters. Truth is the most important thing, and it comes first in education. And you might think, well, doesn't everybody think that way? But the reality is that not everybody thinks that way based on what I see, based on behavior. If you are a parent who caters to your child and what they want, then you're teaching them that their truth is most important. But what truth do we want to stand on as biblical homeschooling mothers? And we went into depth on what a worldview is and how to discern between a biblical worldview and a secular worldview. The next thing we talked about was Christian character. What character are you cultivating in your child? Are they able to focus? Are they able to work hard, even if it's just for 5 minutes? Can they do that? Are we training them to do that? Are we practicing with them and helping them and encouraging them to do that? Are we rewarding them to do that? Are we giving them the confidence they need to grow and thrive in education? Or are we just kind of throwing things at them and hoping they'll get it? Are we teaching our kids to be consistent with their schoolwork, with their schedule, with their eating habits? Consistency makes such a big difference in the extent of their success, the longevity of their success, or the height of their achievement. You would be amazed at how that works coming from a spontaneous person, because consistency was difficult for me, and I wish I could have done more. And the last guiding principle is family goals. What are the goals of your family? And are they teaching children the importance of family and respect and listening to your parents? Do you have teenagers who don't listen to their parents? That's a problem. We're not teaching our children the importance of family and connecting with one another and encouraging one another and helping one another. The next thing we talked about is the 5 types of thinking. We have reflective thinking, deep thinking, critical thinking, complex thinking, and independent thinking. How do we use all of those forms of thinking in our homeschool? And then we talked about the biblical worldview of time and schedules. There are so many homeschool parents who think that they have to be on a very strict schedule and they have to hold to it just like the public school. And if they get out of their seat or if they disrupt the class, that they're going to go into detention, homeschool detention, which isn't really a thing. And we don't want to treat our homeschools like that. The biblical view is that we understand the needs of the child and the development of the child. This is so important. And so I encouraged my moms to be flexible, but at the same time to hold to the consistency of a schedule and the importance of a schedule. It gives children an identity and helps them to understand where they are in their process of growth and their place and contribution of the family. It's a beautiful thing. I talked about starting with the yearly calendar and numbering how many weeks you're going to have school. And then I went into the schedule. What should a schedule be and how can you actually be on a schedule but at the same time be flexible? And with the schedule comes the question of curriculum. How do I find the right curriculum? And I provided my homeschool moms with a list of questions to help them understand how curriculum works and the best ways to find curriculum that not only helps your child academically, but also nurtures their spirit. We talked about the quarterly plan in week 5 and how to do that with language arts and math. And this was a rich discussion of how do you actually teach these subjects, because these are skill-based subjects. They're based on very specific skills, and each skill has its own way of teaching it. And so we talked about that. And this past week we talked about knowledge-based subjects and the worldview that can be cultivated, and teaching children how to understand history and science within a biblical worldview, and why we learn science and history. And it was such a privilege for me to be able to disciple and nurture and mentor these beautiful moms with beautiful children and help them to feel confident with all the tools and tips and training that I gave them. I have no doubt in my mind that they will be successful. If you found this video helpful, please make sure you hit the like button or the subscribe button. Make a comment. What do you think about this program? And I look forward on helping you plan an entire year's worth of curriculum based on biblical principles. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.